Welcome back for another edition of Mortgage Monday. I'm Glenda White with Verity Mortgage, the mortgage coach, DFW. We're talking all things about real estate, mortgage lending, and how do we make a smooth transaction. Hey, welcome back to Mortgage Monday here. Glenda White again with Verity Mortgage, the mortgage coach, DFW. We're just going to dive bomb into things that we're seeing today. Again, we're April 2021 on what not to do when you go under contract. So first and foremost, just want to thank each one of you for growing our community week after week. If you still think this is of educational value, or if you have a friend or relative that are looking at making that home purchase, go ahead and send them this video as well. And if you have any comments for us, go ahead and leave them below. And also, if you wouldn't mind commenting and subscribing, we'd really appreciate it. Believe it or not, when you make a home purchase, it doesn't have to be as stressful as people make it out. Now, what are a couple steps that you can do as the potential buyer of making sure you do not kill the deal? Let's talk about words of status quo. Let's talk about how we can make it less eventful than it already is more stressful, if that kind of puts two and two together. We're going to go ahead and dive into it this week of what we can do to help negate some of the stresses and help those hurdles become just, a straight running path too. So first and foremost, one of the bigger things that we look at when we make the home purchase is whose debts are who. So we're talking about marriage and divorce, and we're in Texas, and it's a community property state. And when you do your pre-approval, if you're married, if you're not married, if you're single, or if you're a fiance, we want to make sure that stays, well, again, the word status quo. Again, being in a community property state, what happens if you get married prior to the close date? We have to add in your new spouse's debt. And what happens in the event of your new spouse's debt has a really crappy credit, or they have a lot of credit? That could, number one, change your approval process, and it could kill your deal. So we're staying status quo on our marriage. If we're married, if we're separated, if we're divorced, if we're a fiance, it all needs to stay the same, so our liabilities stay the same as well. Number two, we're talking about job status. Job status, status quo. Remember, when we look at an approval for your employment, it is based upon your current scenario. And if you have any bonus, any overtime, or any commission, we have to take what you've done over the last 2 years. In the event that you change your job, we do not know what's going to happen with your new employer. And there are guidelines set in place if you change your job that now you have to wait 30 new days to be able to close on your loan. And scenario, if you were employed with overtime on your previous job and then you get a raise on your new job, even though it sounds super cool of, hey, Glenda, I'm going to be making more money. Well, what happens if you're not sure if you're going to get overtime at the new job? How do we know how to properly balance and calculate that overtime? So again, those favorite words of a lender, status quo, means status quo. Keep everything as it is from the time your approval. In the event you lose your job, that's a different scenario. But if you just want to quit your job, guys, don't do it all. And I don't care if you hate your job. I don't care if you love your job. You don't need to change that job until the day after you make that closing table and get those keys. The next thing that we want to look at is don't open any new debt. The trajectory of your debt to income is based upon your current liabilities. If we have a new auto payment, even if we're replacing again an old one, what happens if it's $100 higher? Your pre-approval could be knocked out from $300 to maybe $250. And we know in April 2021, the market is absolutely insane. So those ratios are getting tighter and tighter and tighter the more customers we continue to talk to each and every day. So we're not opening any new debt. We're not closing any new debt. What we're going to do is work with a local lender that has resources into their company that will allow us to look. What we may need to do is pay down some debt to get you the preferred credit score, but we're never ever going to open a new debt, because that is going to change your debt to income, where you're potentially going to get that contract stripped out of you and potentially lose your earnest money. The next thing is, let's not drop in any large lump sum of money or shuffle money around. This could be as easy as your brother giving you money or Aunt Sally giving you money. But when you did your pre-approval, for instance, if we had $10,000 in the bank, we verified $10,000 in the bank. It came from your paychecks just because you're saving so good. And if your brother or aunt or someone in your family drop in large lump sum of money, now we have to source it. There are what we call seasoning requirements for a large lump sum of money. And depending on the loan, that could be a 30 or 45 days, or 30 or 60 days from the statement date. So it's not a matter of just that money dropped in 61 days ago. It matters about what the statement date is as well. And when we are on this topic of no lump sum, we don't want to start pulling mattress money out. That should have been completed at the time of pre-approval of where is the money coming from. It has to be super specific. If you want $6,000 from mom, I want $4,000 from my paycheck savings, and I'm getting $9,000 from my Roth IRA 401k, I don't care. We just have to know dynamics of where the puzzle is coming from, so we can make a straight line in a picture to where we potentially don't kill the deal because we now don't have enough funds to close. So we're not making any large lump sum deposits, and we're not letting our family put their money into our account. Whatever was done at the time of pre-approval is the money that should stay in there, and all you should do is continue to put your paycheck money in there as well as your IRS deposits. All right, so we're talking about helping a friend. We know we all have generous hearts. Sally calls up and say, hey, can you co-sign on this car for me? No, Sally, you're going to have to wait. I'm buying a house, because her debt is now your debt. If you sign on that bottom line, even if you think it's still hers, you have a 12-month waiting period that they have to make the payments on their own account, where you're not a part of that to be able to not include it into your debt to income ratio. If we're in a very small deficit of your debt to income to where we have to keep you at a margin of error, we don't need a cosign on anybody else's debt, nor do we need to close it down either. Again, get with your lender on specifics on what exactly your debts are and where your debt ratio is. And no large purchases. So this is a really, really big one, because we know once you go under contract, you're so excited. You want to go get that refrigerator. You want to go get that furniture. Well, you need to tell Nebraska Furniture Mart of, hey, dude, if you want this sale, write everything down. Go for it. Write that you want the kitchen sink and the counter, and you want everything from Nebraska. You want your dining room, and you want a pretty little bookshelf. I don't care. A pretty picture. Who cares what it is? You tell your commission sales rep, because he's commissioned, that, hey, the day after I come with closing, I want all of these items, and I want it at this price, or I'm not going to come back. And I guarantee you that dude at the commission sales is going to be like, okay, when are you closing? What day are you closing? I'm going to call you on that. And then whenever you close, you can go open up that new debt. What we don't want to do, guys and gals, is we don't want to raise your debt to income ratio at all. Again, we're going to say those words and say those words. We want to stay status quo as much as we can. And, whenever I bought my first house, we had no one that helped us. So I am so proud that now we can get online. We can have videos like this to help you and your family out. And I remember when we did buy our first house, we literally ate sandwiches for 6 months because I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And guys, eat sandwiches. I don't care. Eat sandwiches. Eat cereal. Guess how much money you're going to save. Don't go out to eat. Save your money. Save your pennies, because you don't know during the process of what hurdle may potentially come up. So we really, really appreciate you listening to our video this week. Again, if you think it was of any value, go ahead and send it to a friend, a family member, your coworker, whoever it may be. And if you've ran into any of these scenarios, go ahead and comment below. We would love to see how you overcame them and what we need to do to help you out in the future. So again, I'm Glenda White with Verity Mortgage, the Mortgage Coach DFW. Until next time, have a great day.